Hi, this is Mr. Chow. I'm going to do a very quick video to give the overall feedback for the 2019 SA1 mock assessment paper 1. So just to very quickly summarize the results for the entire batch of students. For the upper secondary, the highest score that we have is 75.7%. That is an A1 score. And congratulations to this student, you know who you are. Right, so you're the only student who managed to get an A. Now the rest of the students, nobody failed in this particular mock assessment. So the rest of the students scored between the range of C5 to B3. Yes, B3 to C5. So nobody failed, which is a good sign. So many of my students are aiming to get at least a B3 in language. So for those who just missed the grade by a whisker, continue to work hard, and I believe that you should be able to close that gap, that one grade gap, and you will be able to achieve your goal. As for the upper primary group, right, the P5, P6 group, the highest score that I have here is actually a boy. I gave him a very high marks because he actually did everything that was asked of him. Right, he learned the lessons very well, and he was actually quite spot on the answers when he was answering the questions. All his language work were kind of free from careless mistakes, free from spelling and grammatical errors. So he got 87.3%, which is quite rare for a student who scored that high for paper 1. That's situational writing and continuous writing. And the rest of the students scored around the 60s to 70s range, which is not a bad score. All right, so again, nobody failed, nobody did get borderline passes, and I think there's quite a bit of room for improvement, and hopefully for these students they will be able to put in more effort and eventually be able to get their grades up to at least above 70% for paper 1. That will put them in a good position to score well for the upcoming PSLE examination at the end of this year. Now very quickly, I just want to put aside the grades, okay, and talk about what is one common behavior, okay, that I've observed in my students, and maybe this is a good chance to bring that up. And I believe one of the greatest roadblock to learning, right, especially when it comes to writing essays, is to have egocentric opinions. In other words, some students think that their own ideas are the best. Well, there's good and bad, to everything. So, including this type of learning, because egocentric opinions, students who believe that only their ideas are the best. On the good side, we see that maybe some of these ideas are 100% original, right? So they have their very strong perspective of something. So that's the good side, right? That they are able to come up with these original ideas that they can include in their essays. Then how about the bad or the undesirable side? Well, the undesirable side is when students simply refuse to see things from other people's perspective, right? For example, like some of my primary school students, when they learn about creative writing, I actually teach them very specific techniques that they can use. Now, instead of just having one option which was taught in school by the school teachers, and now they have other options and other styles of writing that they can choose from. But instead of learning the different styles, some of my students came back and told me that, oh, my school teacher don't allow me to do this. Well, that's not true, obviously, because it's creative writing, it's composition writing. Students actually have a lot of freedom to choose the style of writing that they want, right? How they want to start their story. So that's the danger of having just one or two ideas, that have been stuck in their head, right? And they believe that so staunchly in these ideas that they are unable to adjust or change, right? So from the example that I've just given, this particular student isn't even using his own ideas. He's just using the ideas from his school, right? His school teachers has taught him about certain ideas, how should you go about writing, and then those ideas just stuck in there, and then he became very defensive and just kind of like repel all other ideas that come from other sources, right? Including from me. So if that's the case, then it's very hard for the student to pick up new ideas, to learn new things, and to eventually be able to improve on their essays. Let me just quickly end this video by spending the last couple of minutes just to read you the composition, okay, that was written by the P6 student. So at this point, if you're no longer interested in watching the video, you can just switch it off right now. But if you want to see the kind of essays that a P6 student can write, just to give you some context, this particular student has gone through all the creative writing worksheets, and he has learned the lesson well, and in fact, he's so familiar with the writing that he is able to come up with this entire composition for this mock assessment without having to pause or to refer to any notes or whatsoever. All right. So the topic that was being given to them was about friendship. I'm just going to try to read as quickly as possible so as not to bore you. All right. So he started with ring ring the school bell rang, right? That is what they have been taught in school, right? As a composition starter. So a lot of students have been doing that, right? Ring ring the school bell rang. Pupils from their respective classrooms came out of their classrooms and dashed to the canteen as they were very hungry and wanted to play with their friends. There were long lines in front of the stores. People were jumping into the queue as they were in a hurry. John and Peter queued for their food and they ate their food together. After they had finished their food, they returned their plates and went to the football field to play with each other. After school, they went to John's house and played video games. During weekends and school holidays, they would either go to Peter's house or swim at the nearby swimming pool and eat together. This friendship had been going on for 2 years. Before that, they hardly played or went to each other's houses. So that is a very clear description of the relationship that happened between the two boys, how it all began, and what are the things that they have done together. And on a separate note, regarding the grammar, there were hardly any mistakes, just 2 or 3 very minor mistakes throughout this couple of paragraphs. And then just to continue, when they were in primary 3, John was made to sit beside Peter in class and they began to talk to each other. When Peter forgot to bring his stationery, John shared his with Peter and vice versa. They helped each other with their schoolwork, but after school they just went to their respective homes. John felt very lonely and bored as he was an only child and he had no one to talk to. During those times, he talked to his toy soldiers. His parents were always very busy working, so they had very little time for him. He was envious of the other children who had siblings. He wished he could play with them and he was afraid to ask. He did everything alone. So the child at this stage, the student at this stage has already demonstrated that he has the fluency to express the ideas that he wanted to express in the appropriate manner, and you see the language that is used here. There was nothing pretentious about the language. He wasn't trying to write in a very impressive language. He was just trying to use the language naturally, all right, to express his ideas. To continue the compo, so one day after school, John went to a grocery store to buy food for lunch. When he was there, he saw that Peter was also there and he was very happy to see him. John also found out that Peter is also an only child and that he had no one to talk to him. After that, they both bought their things and they went to John's house to play. From then, they swam, ate and played together at each other's house. They never felt lonely and this friendship continued till this day. And that's the end of the composition. Well, I personally think for a primary 6 student to be able to write like this is not an easy feat and is considered to be a high quality composition. So I gave him very high marks for this. I don't know what you think. Maybe you disagree with me. So if there are certain comments about the composition that you have just heard, or you disagree with any of the remarks which I've just made, feel free to leave your comments in the video, in the comment section below. Alright then, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully I've given some useful feedback. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.